Hi, I'm Jennifer Bleiker, and we had 2 points we had to follow up with you on following brown bag number 67, debunking phony facts and deceptive arguments, often peddled by those referred to as the merchants of doubt. The first is about the probabilistic nature of science and scientific fact. The second is on something we touched on very briefly, about never attacking your PAIs, your potentially affected interests. That's your opponents, your stakeholders, including these merchants of doubt. So the first point about the probabilistic nature of science and scientific fact. Quoting Hans from Brownbag 67, he mentioned that when health professionals talk about the issue of measles, and they say in a school where a large population of the children are vaccinated against measles, it creates a herd immunity. And those who are not vaccinated are actually protected. Conversely, if a large portion of that population at a school is not vaccinated, the herd immunity is destroyed and it's almost inviting a case of measles. What they really mean to say is it's an unacceptably high probability there will be an outbreak of measles. There's no guarantee. There's no guarantee that the child who has had a vaccination won't get measles, and there's no guarantee that the child who has not had an outbreak, has not had a vaccination, will catch measles. What they mean is, given the science, if a large portion of these children are not vaccinated, there's an unacceptably high probability that there will be an outbreak of measles. It's just a probability. Similarly, when he referred to traffic experts who talk about the placement of a stop sign in an intersection that doesn't warrant a stop sign, increasing a safety hazard, what they really mean is there's an unacceptably high probability that placing a stop sign at that intersection will cause drivers to react in such a way that will actually increase the number of accidents. There's no guarantee there will be more accidents. There's no guarantee that not having a stop sign at that intersection will prevent accidents. All it means is there's an unacceptably high probability of that outcome. And so when you think about science and scientists, your own experts, dealing with the probabilistic nature of their work and the theories that you have, realize that that's all any of us have, is probabilities. There's no guarantees. And so when you speak to your teenage child about work hard, study hard, and you'll succeed in life, what you really mean and what your teenager knows you mean, because they've read the newspaper, they've heard the news, your chances of success increase. There's no guarantee though. Your chances will increase if you work hard, study hard in school. Similarly, if you say to a loved one, let's get married, we'll be happy together for the rest of our lives, what you really mean is, I think the chances of us being happy, if we get married and spend our life together, will increase. I think the chances of that scenario are quite high. When your doctor says, eat well, work out, exercise, it'll expand your longevity. What your doctor really means is the chances are that if you eat well, you exercise, you take care of yourself, your longevity will also be expanded, but there's no guarantee. So think of these everyday examples where we talk as though we had certainty when in fact we don't. And you'll notice that we're all dealing in levels and degrees of probabilities. So when the merchants of doubt attack you for not having science that is based on certainty, you have to point out that nothing is certain. That's how we all operate. That's how all decisions are made. We all make personal decisions. We make societal decisions based on probabilities. And there's nothing to be ashamed of when your science and your experts are relying on science that is based on probability. That is the nature of the world. So we just needed to touch on that point again, that while you might get attacked for this is a reality, and you need to inform the public and remind the public that's how we all make decisions. For the second point, on never attacking one of your PAIs or potentially affected interest, stakeholder, opponent, one of these merchants of doubt. We are using the word debunking, and that's pretty strong language. However, we feel like when people are purposely befuddling, disseminating misinformation to confuse the public and the public discourse, including the political decision makers, an aggressive stance, at least an assertive stance, is warranted. And far too often, we the Bleikers feel like public sector professionals are playing far too timid when it comes to these merchants of doubt. One of the reasons we suspect this happens is because not only are merchants of doubt very good at making scientists and professionals feel self-conscious about something like the probabilistic nature of their facts and theories, they're also really good bullies. And in order to stand up to bullies, you've got to be more than passively mumbling under your breath or shaking your head about their theories and their attacks on you as being unfair. But you have to be very careful that you don't attack them personally. Instead, it's the facts, the phony facts, the deceptive arguments. That's what you need to attack. You need to attack their positions, their behavior, their theories, their postures, not them. And it's a very subtle difference, but it makes a world of difference. And the reason is, you need to debunk the false information. Your job is to create an informed public so that the political decision makers can make a more informed decision. And the challenge is to make that without attacking the peddler of the misinformation. We go into great detail about the double standard that both the public and the media have with your opponents, where they're allowed to play dirty, but you, the public sector professional, are not. In Brownbags 1 and 6 and 7, that's when we began these brown bags. And so go back and look at your notes, and if you haven't heard those brown bags, you can get a copy of the recording. And they're 90-minute sessions, so you get a real education on this double standard that is just part of the world. It's just like gravity. You're not going to change it. So you have to operate within that double standard, and you absolutely can. You can still create an informed public while not playing dirty, because you can't. They may attack you personally. You cannot retaliate, but you can, like we said, you can attack their theories, their behavior, their posture, just not them personally. And so one of the tactics, the main tactic that we impart to you in those 3 brown bags, and that Hans alluded to in brown bag 67, is that you get the public to conclude. You get the public to conclude, to discover these are phony facts. You give them the information that causes them to come to the conclusion these are deceptive arguments. So while we encourage you, keep your eye on the ball. Don't get sucked into a fight with one of these merchants of doubt. You will get off course. Your job is to debunk the phony facts in the public's eye. Get the public to conclude that. Don't attack the peddler of the misinformation. Get the public to conclude that what they're hearing is phony. These are deceptive arguments. And while we encourage you to be assertive, if not even aggressive, that does not mean picking a fight. You see, in conflict resolution, professionals there's 2 kinds of conflict. There's constructive and there's non-constructive. They're both still conflict, and we encourage you to try not to elevate things into conflict. But if you have to, constructive conflict is the kind where there is some likelihood, you have the potential of resolving that conflict. Non-constructive conflict, which is the kind where you attack someone personally, there is no resolution. It lingers. It will hurt your credibility, your legitimacy, and it really violates that double standard that I mentioned from brown bag number 7. If you make that mistake, you have just dug yourself a much bigger hole. So we encourage you, don't get into a fight. If you can, try to create no conflict. But if you must, if you have to go on the attack for these phony arguments, these phony facts and deceptive theories, You attack the theories, you attack the behavior, you attack the attitudes, the positions, never the person. Even if you and your team are personally being dragged through the mud, never retaliate. Because what you'll be doing is creating non-constructive conflict, and you can't afford that. So again, we hope you've got a lot out of brown bag number 67. If you have questions, always feel welcome to contact us, email us, and tell us what you think of this new format for our blog. We think we can get a lot more information to you without making a 42-page long blog post. So we look forward to hearing from you. Post your comments below, and we'll see you in the next brown bag.